Imagine selling your life's work for 43 million euros. You want to celebrate with your own son and his wife. But just as music plays and the two of them begin to dance, a security guard approaches and whispers, "I saw him put something into her glass." Your heart stops, betrayed by your own family. You stand up, leave the table, and 20 minutes later, you hear screams coming from the banquet hall. From that moment on, a deadly game of lies, greed, and betrayal begins, and only one will survive. What do you think? How will he take his revenge? Share your opinion in the comments. Welcome to this thrilling story full of betrayal, intrigue, and vengeance. I am Johann Keller, a 55-year-old successful German businessman, and I lost everything due to the greed of my own family. Now, I swear to exact a cruel revenge. Expect more suspense and a shocking twist, so stay until the very end. It was a cool autumn evening in Munich. The streets still glistened from the rain as Johann Keller entered the restaurant Alta Residence. I was 55 years old, freshly liberated from a decade-long nightmare of work, negotiations, and countless sleepless nights, because I had finally sold my company. 43 million euros, a sum that still felt unreal even to me. A lifetime of sacrifices, struggles, and risks had finally paid off. And tonight, I wanted to celebrate not alone, but with my son Marcus and his wife Lena. It was my way of saying thank you, even though our relationship had grown colder in recent years. I thought this evening could mark a fresh start. The restaurant shimmered with elegant crystal chandeliers, soft music, expensive wines on every table. I had ordered the finest menu and reserved a table right in the center of the room, where every guest could sense, here sits someone who has truly made it. Marcus and Lena were dressed elegantly. They laughed, playing the perfect picture of a happy family. For a brief moment, I, the father, felt something resembling pride. But as I took a sip from my glass, something strange happened. A large, broad-shouldered security guard with watchful eyes approached my table. He spoke quietly, almost whispering, "Mr. Keller, please don't drink any more. I saw your son put something into your glass." My blood ran cold. A shock gripped my heart within seconds. Marcus, my own son. I couldn't believe it. I forced myself to stay calm, watching them dance, hands intertwined, faces smiling carefree, yet my stomach twisted into knots. If this was true, they had planned it. Not an impulsive act, not a misunderstanding, but cold, calculated, deliberate. I stood up slowly, as if merely heading to the restroom. No one paid me much attention. My legs felt heavy, but my mind had never been clearer. I left the hall, step by step, hearing laughter, music, and clinking glasses fade behind me. Outside, the cool night air hit me. But inside, a storm raged. 20 minutes later, I heard screams from the banquet hall. People rushed outside. A waiter shouted something about a guest collapsing. My heart pounded, but I knew the glass meant for me had been drunk by someone else. By sheer chance, by a timely warning, I had survived. And suddenly, I realized I wasn't just a victim. I had become part of a deadly game my own family had launched against me. I pulled my jacket tighter and walked away without looking back. But one question burned inside me. Why? Was it only about the money? Had Marcus and Lena waited all their lives until I was old enough, weak enough to dispose of me? Or was there hatred beneath it all, hatred I'd never noticed? Memories of little Marcus rose in my mind, how he used to play in my workshop with shining eyes, saying he wanted to be just as strong and successful as his father someday. When had that pride turned to poison? When had love become betrayal? I knew I couldn't afford a single mistake. I couldn't go straight to the police, Marcus, and Lena would erase every trace, twist every clue against me. They'd claim I was old, paranoid, overwhelmed by my own wealth. No, I had to stay silent, wait, observe. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my apartment, an untouched glass of whiskey beside me, staring at old family photos, Marcus and me fishing, Lena beside him at Christmas, images full of smiles that now seemed like masks. I felt something dark growing inside me, not just fear, but rage. A fire I hadn't felt in years. I'd built corporate empires, crushed rivals, won wars in boardrooms, and now my own son wanted to destroy me. If they thought I'd go down without a fight, they were sorely mistaken. The next morning, I decided to visit my old office, not to work. It no longer belonged to me, but because I kept there documents, contacts, people who still owed me favors. I needed information. If Marcus truly tried to end my life, he must have left traces. At the office, my longtime secretary, loyal for 20 years, took one look at me and said, "Mr. Keller, you look like you've seen a ghost." I gave a weak smile and said the party had been exhausting. But inwardly, I knew she could be an ally, someone I could still trust. Later that day, I met an old contact in the police, not officially, just an informal chat. I wanted to know if Marcus or Lena had shown any unusual activity recently. Loans, calls, connections to shady circles. My contact promised to look into it. On my way home, the city seemed quieter than usual, almost frozen. Every shadow felt suspicious, every face a potential traitor. I knew I'd entered another World War of deception, distrust, and dark reckonings. That night, I made my decision. They'd tried to kill me. Now, I would turn the game around piece by piece, cold and calculated, just as they had done. But I was more experienced, harder, and I had nothing left to lose. And so my revenge began. The sun had long risen, yet everything still felt like endless night to me. I, Johann Keller, had realized my own son and his wife wanted me dead. Decades of trust had shattered in a single moment, but I knew that if I wanted to survive, I could no longer be a father. I had to become once again the businessman who'd learned in the darkest corners of industry how to eliminate enemies. The next day, my police contact called. His voice was hushed, almost hesitant. "Johann, I don't know what your son's mixed up in, but over the past few weeks he's made unusually large transfers, huge sums sent to dubious offshore companies. Also, there are indications he's connected to someone in the underworld, a man you'd do well to avoid." My heart pounded faster. Marcus, my own son, was deeper in criminal dealings than I'd ever imagined. Maybe Lena had pushed him. Maybe it was his own ambition. But one thing was clear. They'd not only planned my murder, they'd chosen the perfect moment. If I'd vanished, they would have split my entire fortune between them. I began searching through old folders I'd kept in a bank safe after selling the company lists of business partners, notes on investors, confidential files. Among them, I found names that could help, men I'd once ruined and who therefore owed me. One was Victor Brand, a former security consultant I'd employed years ago before dismissing him after a scandal. He knew the city's underbelly, the kind of people you'd rather not meet. I called him. "Victor, it's Johann Keller. I need you. It's life or death." There was silence on the other end, then a dry chuckle. "Johann, I've been wondering when you'd finally reappear in my life. Tell me what's going on." We met at a remote bar on the city's outskirts. Victor had aged, his face scarred, but his eyes still held that cold, calculating glint. I told him about Marcus, Lena, the poison in the glass. He listened, nodding occasionally. When I finished, he said, "This isn't random. If your son went this far, he's got powerful people behind him. You can't survive this alone, but with my help, you might have a chance." We devised a plan. First, I needed irrefutable evidence recordings, documents proving Marcus's guilt, so I could destroy him without appearing like a paranoid old man. Victor promised to use his contacts to uncover who my son's shady partners really were. That evening, Marcus called. His voice sounded gentle, caring, but I heard the false note beneath it. "Father, I'm sorry you left so suddenly last night. Lena and I were worried. Are you all right?" I forced calm into my voice. "I'm fine, Marcus. I just didn't feel well. We'll reschedule dinner soon." "Of course," he said. "We're looking forward to it." I hung up, heart racing. His tone was smooth, controlled, no trace of guilt or shame. He was playing a perfect performance, but I now knew he'd be watching my every move. Over the next days, I began discreetly following him. Victor arranged for a young hacker named Elias to track Marcus's digital footprints. From my car, I watched as Marcus met a man I recognized instantly. Rainer Fucht, a shady businessman known for money laundering and illegal deals. That my son was associating with him was the proof I needed. But the deeper I dug, the clearer it became. Lena wasn't just an accomplice, she was the driving force. Elias uncovered messages between her and Reiner Fucht, secret meetings, confidential arrangements, hints that Marcus didn't even know how deeply she was involved. My son might have been weak, greedy, but Lena was the spider at the center of the web. One night, alone in my apartment with documents spread before me, photos of Marcus and Lena in the arms of that shady businessman, I took a sip of whiskey. A thought struck me. If I wanted to save Marcus, I'd have to destroy Lena. But could I do it? Could I spare my own son after he'd plotted to murder me? Victor looked at me gravely when I asked, "Johann, you can't afford feelings. They both tried to kill you. Show mercy now, and you'll be the next one underground." His words echoed in my mind. He was right. Yet deep inside, something stirred. The memory of little Marcus proudly holding my tools. Was that boy still hidden somewhere in this man? Or was he already lost? The next morning, Elias sent me a message. Lena was planning a secret meeting without Marcus with Reiner Fucht in an abandoned industrial zone on the city's edge. If I went there, I could catch her in the act. I knew this was the chance I'd been waiting for, but also the beginning of a war I might not survive. Night lay heavy over the city as Victor and I drove through the industrial wasteland in a black car. Old warehouses, rusted gates, broken windows, the perfect place for deals meant to stay hidden. Elias had sent the address, and every instinct screamed this wasn't an innocent meeting. We parked at a safe distance. Through binoculars, I saw Lena step out of a dark car, high heels clicking on concrete, her coat fluttering in the wind. Beside her stood a large, bald bodyguard. Minutes later, a second car arrived, Reiner Fucht himself. A face I'd never forget, a man who looked as if he'd long since sold his soul. "Look at her," Victor growled beside me. "Your daughter-in-law doesn't seem like an innocent woman, does she?" My hands clenched into fists. No, she looked like a queen in a realm of lies. They met in the middle of the lot, speaking sharply, almost aggressively. Victor pulled out a small recorder Elias had given him. "Now we'll get what we need. Let them talk." Through a directional mic we caught fragments, Lena's voice cold and calculating. "Marcus isn't strong enough. He hesitates. I'll handle things myself. Once Keller disappears, everything belongs to us. He'll just be a memory." My heart stopped. She spoke of me as if I were already dead. Marcus, my son, was merely a pawn in her game. I felt rage and a strange flicker of relief. Maybe, just maybe, my son wasn't the mastermind. Maybe he was just weak, blinded by this woman. Reiner Fucht nodded, lit a cigarette, and flicked the ember carelessly to the ground. "Fine," he said. "But if you fail, Lena, you're finished. I'm not losing my money." They shook hands, and in that moment, I knew I would destroy them, not through rage, not through open violence, but through patience. Victor placed a hand on my shoulder. "We have evidence. You can go to the police now, Johann." I shook my head. "Not yet. I want more. I want them to betray each other, to tear their own web apart." We waited until Lena and Fucht left, then drove back. My mind reeled, memories of Marcus gazing at me with admiration clashing with the grim reality. He was weak, controlled by a woman and his own greed. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. I called Marcus and suggested a private dinner, just father and son. He sounded surprised, almost relieved. "Yes, gladly. I'm looking forward to it." I knew Lena would grow suspicious, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted her nervous. We met at a small bistro, far from the glittering world Marcus usually inhabited. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes. We ordered coffee. For a moment, it almost felt like old times. "Marcus," I began carefully, "lately I've been thinking a lot about our family." He looked at me, uneasy. "Father, what do you mean?" "I mean we've grown apart. You're doing things I don't understand." His gaze flickered, as if he wanted to confess something. But then I heard Lena's cold voice in my head, and I knew he wouldn't speak not while she held power over him. So I changed tactics. "Marcus, if there's ever anything weighing on your conscience, you can tell me. I'm still your father." He nodded, but his eyes betrayed the lie. Afterward, I reported to Victor. "He's weak. She controls him." Victor laughed bitterly. "Then play chess. Remove the queen, and the king falls on his own." That night, we crafted a plan. Elias would keep tracking Lena's digital trail, Victor would use contacts to monitor her movements, and I, Johann Keller, would prepare the final move: public exposure. But first, I had to ensure Marcus wouldn't get another chance to kill me, so I turned my apartment into a fortress: cameras, alarms, even a hidden pistol in my desk. I wasn't helpless. I was a warrior, back in the field against my own blood. Then one evening, Elias sent me a message. "Johann, you need to see this." He showed me a chat log between Lena and Vogt, in black and white. "Next week we'll lure him to the villa. This time he won't escape." My blood boiled. They were planning a second strike. But this time, I was ready. I wouldn't run. This time, I'd strike back. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and swore. If they thought they could destroy me, I'd show them what it means to awaken the wrath of a man who has nothing left to lose. The invitation came sooner than expected, a call from Marcus Friendly, almost effusive. "Father, Lena and I would be honored if you joined us at the villa next week. Let's finally have that last dinner together." His voice was smooth, controlled, but I heard the undertone. It was a trap, as clear as a knife in the dark. I accepted calmly, almost cheerfully, as if clueless. "That sounds wonderful, Marcus. I'm looking forward to it." He laughed, wished me a good day, and the moment I hung up, I looked in the mirror. My face belonged to a man who no longer had family-only enemies. Victor listened as I outlined my plan. "You're really going?" he asked, skeptically pulling on his cigarette. "Yes," I replied, "but not as a victim, as a hunter." He nodded slowly. "Then you'll need something up your sleeve." We spent the next days planning every detail. Elias hacked the villa's security cameras so we could watch their movements in real time. Victor gave me a tiny camera no bigger than a button to wear on my lapel, recording every second. And in my coat, I carried something I hadn't touched in years, a small pistol, a gift from an old business partner, not for killing, but as insurance. The night of the meeting arrived. I drove to the villa. The gates opened automatically. Everything looked flawless: the manicured garden, luxury cars, lit windows. But behind the facade, shadows lurked. Marcus greeted me at the door, even hugged me. His smile felt forced. "Father, so glad you're here." "Of course," I said calmly. "Family comes first." Lena appeared elegant as ever, in a dress too expensive to have been honestly earned. Her gaze was icy, her embrace pure theater. "Johann, we've prepared a special menu. You'll love it." We sat at the long dining table. Candles flickered, wine was poured, and for a moment the illusion was perfect. We were a family sharing dinner. But my heart raced. My senses were razor sharp. I knew every bite could be my last. Elias's voice came softly through my earpiece. "Johann, I see 2 men in the next room, heavily armed. They're waiting for a signal." I forced a smile, took a sip of water. "It's nice we're finally together," I said. Marcus nodded, but his eyes darted nervously toward the door. Lena raised her glass, clinked it against mine, and her lips curled into a barely visible smile. She believed I was caught in her web, but then I made my first move. I placed my napkin on the table, looked directly at Lena, and said quietly, "Does Marcus even know you've been secretly meeting Rainer Vogt for months?" Her face froze. For a split second, she was speechless. Marcus turned to her, confused, brow furrowed. "What are you talking about, Father?" I leaned back, voice firm. "Ask her. Ask your wife why she's scheming with Vogt behind your back." Lena let out a cold, artificial laugh. "That's absurd, Johann. He's fantasizing. You know how he is, Marcus." Vrth. But Marcus didn't look convinced. A seed of doubt had been planted, and I watched it grow. At that moment, Elias whispered in my ear, "Johann, the men are moving. They're coming closer." I deliberately set my glass down hard on the table. It clinked loudly. "You know, Marcus," I continued, "I almost stayed silent tonight, but then I heard recordings. Your wife planning my death. Without you." Marcus turned pale. He looked at Lena, panic in his eyes. "Lena, is that true?" Before she could answer, the door opened. 2 large armed men entered, faces blank. The trap had sprung, but I was ready. In one swift motion, I reached into my coat, pulled out the pistol, and aimed it at the men. "Don't move!" I commanded, my voice steel. They hesitated, unsure whether to shoot. At that instant, Victor emerged from the shadows behind them. He had entered through a side door. With practiced moves, he disarmed the first man and slammed the second against the wall. Lena screamed. Marcus jumped up. The table overturned. Chaos erupted, but I kept my gun steadily aimed at Lena. "Enough games," I said coldly. "I know what you planned, and this time, you won't escape." Marcus stood between us, hands trembling. "Father, stop, please. We can work this out." I laughed bitterly. "Work it out? After you tried to poison me? After you treated me like a stray dog to be put down?" Lena shot Marcus a look sharp as a blade. "Don't talk to him, Marcus. He's weak. He knows he'll lose in the end." But Marcus fell silent. For the first time, I saw his facade crack, his eyes shifting between me and Lena, filled with doubt, fear, guilt. Victor held the disarmed men firmly while I considered my next move. I had the upper hand for the first time. But this was only the beginning. What I truly wanted wasn't just survival. I wanted their masks torn off, forcing them to destroy each other. And tonight, I'd started the game. The table lay overturned, glass shards glittered on the floor, candles extinguished. Only the cold overhead lights illuminated the scene. I still held the pistol aimed at Lena, while Victor restrained the two henchmen. An eerie silence filled the room. Marcus breathed heavily, his gaze darting between me and his wife. I saw the battle raging inside him, loyalty versus doubt, love versus raw fear. "Marcus," I said softly but with the sharpness of a blade, "you can't deny it any longer. I know she's been lying to you. Can't you see? She's using you for her game, for her greed." Lena laughed, a cold, shrill sound that cut through the air. "Johann, you're pathetic. Do you really think Marcus would let you turn him against me? He knows you're weak and old man losing his mind." But Marcus's face grew paler. I stepped closer, keeping the gun steady. "Look at me, Marcus. I'm your father. Remember how you used to look up to me? I did everything for you, and this is your thanks, trying to poison me like a stray dog?" "Enough," Marcus suddenly shouted, voice trembling. "Stop it, both of you. I don't even know who to believe anymore." That was the moment I'd been waiting for. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a small recorder, and pressed play. Lena's voice filled the room, clear and unmistakable. "Marcus isn't strong enough. He hesitates. I'll handle things myself. Once Keller disappears, everything belongs to us. He'll just be a memory." Marcus froze. His eyes widened as if the ground had vanished beneath him. "Lena, that's you." She sprang up, trying to regain composure. "It's manipulated. He's tricking you, Marcus. He wants to drive us apart." But I saw doubt harden into certainty in Marcus's eyes. He took a step back from her, hands shaking. You used me." Lena narrowed her eyes, cold and calculating. "Of course I used you, Marcus. Did you really think I ever loved you? You were just the key to his fortune. Without you, I'd never have sat here." Her words struck him like a physical blow. I felt their alliance crumbling beneath them. Victor grinned as he zip-tied the two men. "Well, Johann, looks like the lady just betrayed herself." I shifted the pistol to aim at both of them. "You wanted me dead, but now you're destroying each other." Marcus sank onto a chair, all strength gone from him. Lena glared at me, eyes burning with hatred. "You'll pay for this, Johann. You think you've won, but this isn't over." I stepped closer, the gun's muzzle just centimeters from her face. "For you, Lena, it's over. And Marcus will soon realize he's lost everything because of you." Silence filled the room. Only our breathing remained. Then Elias's voice crackled in my earpiece. "Johann, you need to leave now. I see movement on the property. More of Fuchs' men are coming." My heart raced. I couldn't leave them here, but I knew I didn't have enough bullets to fight an entire squad. I made a decision. "Victor, we take Marcus. Lena stays. Let her drown in her own chaos." Victor nodded, grabbed Marcus, who was too shocked to resist, and I kept Lena in my sights one last time. "Enjoy your power while it lasts. Soon you'll learn that even Fuchs will abandon you." We slipped out the back as shadows moved up the driveway. Gunshots rang out in the distance, screams tearing through the night. We ducked, ran to our car, and vanished into the darkness. Inside the vehicle, tense silence reigned. Marcus stared at his hands, face ashen. "Father, why did you take me with you?" I glanced at him, then back at the road. Because you still have a chance, one last chance. But you must choose, Marcus. Either you fight with me against her, or you go down with her. He fell silent. Tears glistened in his eyes, but no words came. I knew his inner battle had only just begun. Later, in an abandoned cabin outside the city, we gathered around an old wooden table. Victor set down a bottle of schnapps. Elias sent more data to my laptop. Lena had already contacted Vogt again, desperate, furious. She was planning her next move. I leaned back staring at Marcus, who seemed broken, yet held a flicker of remorse. See, son, she'll never stop. And if you don't break free from her, you'll be her next victim. Marcus slowly lifted his head, voice barely audible. Father, help me. In that moment, I knew the war was far from over, but for the first time in years, my son no longer stood entirely on the other side. Rain lashed against the cabin windows, the wood creaked in the wind, and a lone candle flickered restlessly. Marcus sat across from me, pale, red-eyed, looking like a shattered man. Yet in his gaze was something new. Doubt, yes, but also a spark of remorse. Father, he began, voice fragile. I don't know how I could have been so blind. Lena controlled everything, but that doesn't excuse what I did. I took a sip of water, set the glass down, and leaned forward. Marcus, you made mistakes, huge ones, but you're still alive. That means you can choose, remain her puppet, or help me destroy her. He lowered his head. And if I choose to help you, will you ever forgive me? I paused. Truthfully, I didn't know, but I needed him. That doesn't depend on today, Marcus. It depends on what you do from now on. Just then, the door opened. Victor stepped in, soaked from the rain, a radio in hand. Elias intercepted Vogt's communications. Lena met him yesterday. She's planning to publicly discredit you, Johann, a press event where she'll declare you mentally unfit. I laughed bitterly. Mentally unfit? Clever. They don't just want my money, they want my reputation too. Who'd believe a man supposedly out of his mind? Marcus clenched his fists. That's their specialty, destroying people, not just physically, but in the eyes of others. She always wanted everyone to think you were crazy. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we'll use that against her. You'll stand by her side as you always have, but this time, you'll play by my rules. His eyes widened. You want me to lie to her? Not lie, I corrected coolly. Just withhold the truth and deliver it at the right moment. Victor nodded. We'll wire him. Everything Lena and Vogt plan, we'll record. No court can ignore that evidence. Marcus swallowed hard. And if she finds out, if she realizes I'm working for you, I'm dead. I looked deep into his eyes. Then you'll have to learn to play her lies as well as she does. Marcus, this is your last chance. Either you're my son or her slave. He stared at me a long moment, then slowly nodded. I'm your son. A quiet moment of reconciliation passed between us. For the first time in years, it felt like he truly stood by my side. The next day, Victor took Marcus to a small tech room Elias had set up in the cabin. Cables, microphones, hidden cameras covered the table. Marcus's hands trembled as Victor attached a tiny mic to his collar. Don't worry, Victor murmured. It's so small no one will see it. Elias hears every word. If things get dangerous, we'll signal you. Marcus looked at me, seeking final reassurance. I nodded. You're not alone. But remember, every second you hold out brings us closer to their destruction. That evening, Marcus entered Vogt's luxurious villa. I watched everything remotely via Elias's monitor. My heart pounded as I saw Lena on screen, relaxed in a silk dress, glass of red wine in hand, greeting Marcus with a kiss on the cheek. You look pale, darling, she said. Did you sleep poorly? Marcus forced a smile. A bit, but it's fine. I'm ready for our next step. Vogt, standing beside her, eyed Marcus coldly. Good. Tomorrow morning, there's a press conference. Johann will be publicly discredited, doctors, expert reports. Everything's prepared. The world will see him as mentally unstable. I clenched my fists, hearing those words, but Marcus played his role perfectly. And if he shows up? he asked, feigning concern. Lena waved dismissively. Then the whole press will laugh. No one will believe him, Elias whispered through the headset. We've got it all. Every word. Once this goes public tomorrow, they're finished. But then something unexpected happened. Lena placed a hand on Marcus's arm, leaned close, and whispered, "But if you ever make a mistake, you'll share his fate, understand?" Marcus's face froze. My heart raced as I watched every flicker in his eyes. He nodded, gave a weak smile, and in that moment I knew he was playing the role of his life. The night before the press conference was restless. I sat in the cabin, radio beside me, eyes fixed on the monitor. Elias had synced Marcus's mic feed to my screen. Every word, breath, movement from Lena and Fugt streamed directly to us. Marcus didn't sleep. He lay in a guest room at the villa, staring into nothingness. On screen, I saw my son trapped between two worlds. I knew the coming day would decide whether he was lost forever or found his way back to me. "Johann," Victor murmured beside me, "you must prepare. Tomorrow will be bloody. Either we win or we disappear forever." I nodded. I'm ready. But this time, the truth must come to light, not in shadows, not secretly. They must fall before the whole world. The next morning, reporters flooded into a grand hotel ballroom in Munich. Cameras were set up, microphones adjusted. On stage, a banner read, "The future without Johann Keller, new leadership, new vision." Lena stepped onto the stage in a white dress, flawless, radiant. Marcus followed, paler but composed. Fugt, in his usual dark suit, dominated the room with cold authority. I entered through a side door, unnoticed, staying in the shadows accompanied by Victor. No one knew I was there. Not yet. The press conference began. Lena took the podium, her voice honey-sweet yet poisonous. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we reveal the truth about Johann Keller, a man who has sadly lost control of his life and his mind." Flashbulbs exploded. Cameras clicked. She played her part perfectly, the concerned daughter-in-law stepping in to save the family. Then, a doctor, clearly paid off, took the stage, citing fabricated psychiatric evaluations, claiming I posed a danger to the public. Each sentence was a dagger. Rage burned in me. But I waited. Marcus was the key. When he approached the podium, the entire room held its breath. He began, voice trembling slightly. "I've seen my father often these past months. It's true, he seemed changed, restless, suspicious." He paused. Lena stared at him. Fugt's gaze bored into his back. "But what I must say now isn't easy, because I've learned something." The silence was unbearable. Everyone waited. "My father," Marcus swallowed. He was right. Lena and Herr Fugt, they tried to kill him. A roar erupted in the hall. Flashbulbs burst. Reporters leapt to their feet. Lena froze, eyes wide. "What? Marcus, what are you saying?" But Marcus pulled the mic closer. "I heard it all. I have the evidence. They tried to poison him, steal his inheritance, destroy his name." At that exact moment, Elias gave me the signal. On the large screen behind the stage, a video played Lena's voice captured by the hidden mic. "Of course I used him, Marcus. Without you, I'd never have gotten to his money." Chaos exploded. Shouts, questions, cameras swiveling toward Lena and Fugt. Lena snatched the mic, screaming, "It's manipulated, all lies!" But her voice sounded hysterical, desperate. Fugt tried to regain control, but in that moment, I stepped into the light. "No, Lena," I said loudly, my voice cutting through the hall. "It's not manipulated. It's the truth, your truth." All eyes turned to me. Journalists surged forward. Cameras filmed my face. I walked slowly toward the stage. They wanted me dead, but I survived. And now you see who they really are. Frauds, liars, murderers. Lena's eyes widened in panic. "Johann, you'll pay for this," she shrieked. Fugt grabbed her arm, hissing something in her ear. I watched their facade crumble, and Marcus stood between them, shaken but resolute. Reporters bombarded me with questions. "Mr. Keller, do you have proof? Will there be charges? Are you in danger?" I raised my hand, and Elias played another recording. Fugt himself, plotting murder. There was no turning back. Lena and Fugt were exposed before the entire world, but in their eyes I saw something that sent chills down my spine. Hatred. A hatred that wouldn't end until one of us was dead. The press conference ended in chaos. Journalists stormed the stage, cameras flashing. I knew those images would dominate every news channel that evening. Lena and Vogt were ruined publicly, utterly. Yet as I left the hall, I felt that cold prick on my neck. It wasn't over, not with people like them. Outside the hotel, a black car waited. Victor ushered me inside. Marcus followed. Elias relayed instructions over the radio. "We need to get you out. Vogt still has men on the streets. This was only the first blow." The car sped through the city, headlights cutting bright paths through the rain. Marcus sat silently beside me, hands trembling. He knew he'd irrevocably switched sides and Lena would never forgive him. "She'll hunt you," I said quietly. "But this time, you're prepared." He nodded weakly. "I'm afraid, Father, but for the first time in years, I feel like I'm doing the right thing." The next day, headlines exploded. Johann Keller alive exposes murder plot. Scandal rocks business elite recordings implicate key figures. But Vogt wasn't a man who vanished quietly. Elias sent us new intercepts, immediate threats against me. "They're done with trials and schemes," he said. "Now it's just violence." I felt the old coldness return. Then let them come. I'm waiting. That same night, surveillance cameras hacked by Elias showed Lena meeting Vogt at a secret estate outside the city. Her face was twisted, not with remorse, but with raw fury. "He betrayed me, Victor, my own husband. He stood with him," she screamed. Vogt remained calm, sipping whiskey. "Forget Marcus. He's dead to us. Now we focus on Keller. If he's alive tomorrow, we lose everything." Lena slammed her fist on the table. "Then we kill him. No more poison, no more games. We take him tonight." I heard those words through Elias's feed. My pulse quickened. They were coming. Victor loaded weapons, laid magazines on the table. "Johann, this is no longer a game. If they come here, there's no escape. We fight, or we die." I looked at Marcus. He was pale, but his eyes burned. "I'll fight with you, Father. They tried to kill you. They used me. Now I'll show them they chose the wrong enemy." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then tonight, we stand side by side." Just after midnight, we heard engines. Headlights sliced through the forest. Men in black suits jumped from vehicles, armed with assault rifles. Lena stepped out, Vogt close behind, faces hardened by hate and resolve. "Johann," she called into the darkness, "you can't hide forever. Come out, and let's end this." I stood already in the doorway's shadow, pistol in hand. Victor took position at the window with a sniper rifle. Elias relayed enemy positions through my earpiece. Marcus gripped his weapon, breathing hard. "Now," I whispered, "the real war begins." Gunfire erupted. Wood splintered, glass shattered. Victor fired precisely. One man fell. Marcus pulled the trigger for the first time in his life and hit his mark. His face was pale, but his grip was firm. From the weak son Lena had manipulated, he was becoming a man standing at my side. Then I heard her voice again. "Johann, stop hiding. Come out if you have any honor left." She stood on the driveway, pistol in hand, her wet dress clinging to her body. Vogt beside her, cold and unshaken, holding a shotgun. Their faces glowed with hatred. I stepped slowly from cover, weapon raised. Rain dripped from my face, mud sucked at my shoes. "Lena," I called, "everything you had is over. The world knows the truth. You can't win." She laughed a hysterical, cutting sound. "Win? This isn't about winning, Johann. It's about making you suffer, making you lose everything just like I did." Vogt raised the shotgun, but suddenly, Marcus stepped in front of me. "No," he said firmly. "You'll have to go through me first." For a heartbeat, the world stood still. Father versus son, betrayer versus family, hate versus blood. "Marcus, step aside," Lena hissed. "You're nothing without me." He shook his head, tears in his eyes, but his voice was steady. "No, I'm finally my own man, and I am my father's son." Vogt tensed the trigger, but in that same second, Victor fired from the window. The shot cracked. Vogt staggered back, hit in the shoulder. The shotgun clattered to the ground. Lena screamed, lunged at Marcus, pistol raised. I raised my weapon, but she was faster. The gunshot tore through the night. Marcus stumbled, blood soaking his shirt. He fell to his knees. "No!" I screamed. My heart shattered. Without thinking, I fired. The bullet struck Lena in the chest. Her face froze in shock and hatred. Then she collapsed backward into the mud. Silence, only the rain falling. I dropped beside Marcus, gripping his shoulders. "Hold on, son, you can't die on me now." He smiled weakly, blood on his lips. "Father, I finally did the right thing." "No, don't talk like that," I shouted as Victor rushed over. "Elias, call an ambulance, now." Marcus's eyes flickered. "I'm proud to be your son." Then he closed them. I pressed my hands to his wound, screaming his name, but deep down, I feared I'd lose him. Fucked, wounded, dragged himself away into the darkness. But I wouldn't let him escape, not after everything. I swore that tonight he would pay. The rain had turned the earth into a sea of mud. Lena's body lay motionless, eyes staring blankly into the night. Marcus's breathing was faint, but he still lived. Victor and Elias fought desperately to keep him alive, but I had only one thought. Fucked. He was hurt, but not dead. Somewhere out there, he fled like a wounded animal. I grabbed my weapon, cocked it, and walked into the night. Each step sank deep into the mud. Each breath burned in my chest. "Johann, wait," Victor called. "Let the police handle it." I didn't turn. "No, this last step, I walk alone." I followed the blood trail Fugged left behind through the woods, deeper and deeper, until I reached an old hunting cabin. There, I heard him heavy breathing, the metallic click as he reloaded his gun. I slowly opened the door. Darkness swallowed me, except for a small fire flickering in the corner. Fugged lay on the floor, shoulders soaked in blood, but his eyes blazed with hate. "There you are, Johann," he hissed. "I knew you'd come. We were always meant to end like this." "No," I answered quietly. "You were always meant to die alone." He raised his weapon, but I was faster. One shot, short, cold. The bullet struck him in the chest. Fucked gasped, blood spilling from his mouth. His face twisted into a final grin. "You think you've won, but in the end, you're just like me. Loveless." Then he collapsed. The fire reflected one last time in his dead eyes. I stood there, hand trembling. His words echoed, but I shook my head. "No, I'm not like you. I fought to protect my family, to restore the truth." Outside, Victor and Elias waited. They'd placed Marcus on a stretcher. Blue lights now lit the forest. The ambulance had arrived. I knelt beside my son, held his hand tightly. "You'll make it, Marcus. We did it. Together." He opened his eyes briefly, and in his gaze I saw peace. Then he closed them again as paramedics lifted him into the vehicle. I looked up at the gray morning sky. The rain had stopped. Birds began to sing, as if nature itself knew the nightmare was over. Lena was dead. Fugged was dead. But the price had been high, too high. I knew I'd never forget. But I'd found my peace, and as the sun slowly broke through the clouds, I swore no one would ever again dare destroy what I loved.